Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another thrilling horror story explanation. Today we're diving deep into a truly chilling tale, Losmen Melati, an Indonesian horror story that promises to be even more captivating than its previous installments. If you've seen the original story, this will resolve its unfinished ending, and if not, don't worry, you'll still be on the edge of your seat. Our story begins in the dead of night, where we witness a dwarf-like man named Golok. He stealthily enters a mysterious room carrying a bowl. As he moves, someone suddenly passes behind him, but Golok pays no mind. He proceeds to a chicken coop, pulls out a black chicken, and with a swift, brutal motion, severs its head from its body just as one would perform a black magic ritual. He then collects the chicken's blood in the bowl and exits the room. The scene shifts to the next morning. A car pulls up to Losmen Melati, a hotel named after its owner, Melati. From the car emerges a woman named Mariam. She immediately confronts Golok, who is the hotel's receptionist, asking if he's committed murder, as chicken blood is still visible on his face. Golok simply tells Mariam that Melati is waiting for her in the living room. Mariam walks into the living room and spots Melati by the window. As she enters, the lights flicker, lightning flashes outside, and Melati vanishes, only to reappear moments later, sitting on the sofa. Melati, the hotel's owner, is indeed the namesake of Losmen Melati. However, Mariam strongly asserts that this property rightfully belongs to her father. Melati retorts that Mariam has grown quite a lot. Mariam then points out the most mysterious fact. Melati hasn't aged a day in all these years, implying they've known each other for a very long time. Melati reveals that Mariam's father had forged documents to legally own the property, but a deal was struck between them. Melati could keep the hotel, and in return she wanted only Mariam's father. Melati further describes Mariam's father as a terrible, greedy man whose lust preyed not only on her, but also on Mariam's mother, ultimately leading to her mother's death. Infuriated, Mariam threatens Melati. She declares that she knows Melati is responsible for her father's disappearance at the hotel, and for that she intends to completely destroy the place. She gives Melati a 7-day ultimatum before she returns to demolish the hotel. While they argue, we see Golok outside tampering with the hood of Mariam's car. After threatening Melati, Mariam gets into her car, but it won't start. The hotel's isolated location means there's no other transportation available. Mariam is forced to go back inside and asks Golok to call a mechanic. Melati intervenes, noting the heavy rain and suggesting it would take a long time for anyone to arrive. She invites Mariam to chat in the living room, but Mariam, unwilling to spend another moment with Melati, asks if there's an empty room where she can rest. Little did Mariam know, this was her biggest mistake. Golok hands her a key, and Melati accompanies her to the room. The hallway is lined with many paintings. As Mariam glances at one, she's startled to see it seemingly come to life, only to return to normal moments later. After a brief conversation, Mariam again threatens Melati. Melati responds by telling Mariam that she's exactly like her father, sometimes sweet and kind, sometimes selfish and greedy. Without a word, Mariam enters the room. Melati then reveals, "This is the room where your father was last seen." She adds that Mariam will finally learn what Melati did to her father. As soon as Melati speaks, the door slams shut by itself. Mariam, terrified, desperately bangs on the door, begging Melati to open it. She then hears a sound outside, looks through the window, and sees her car being driven away. She screams for help, but her hand cuts on the window glass. Due to heavy blood loss and extreme fear, Mariam collapses unconscious. The story now takes us back 97 years. We see a young Melati chained in a room within what was then Kusno's house, not a hotel. Kusno, the owner, enters with a gun, intending to kill her. Melati tells him that while her death would free her, it would trap Kusno within the cursed house. She reveals she's the only one who can hear and see the entities, implying Kusno would be utterly alone with them. We now understand that the house is haunted due to some ghostly presence. Kusno, enraged, beats Melati. He notices black blood seeping from her nose and is stunned when he sees a bite mark on his own hand, also oozing black blood. He got this mark when a creature bit him from inside the back of an accursed woman during an operation. This cursed woman, we learn, was Melati's mother, Sumita. Kusno had a son named Sidit, who was Melati's age. Sidit brings food to Melati and tries to talk to her. Melati tells him not to blame himself, that his father cursed the house and he should leave to live a free life, but Sidit refuses to abandon his father. He asks Melati if she wants to come with him. Melati sadly replies that the house won't let her leave. Sidit believes it's the spirit of Melati's mother. Melati then ominously says that something far more terrifying than her mother's spirit lies beneath the house. Whispering sounds fill the air, scaring Sidit, and he quickly leaves the room. The scene returns to the present. Mariam, after losing so much blood, finally regains consciousness. She immediately calls out for Melati, begging for help and promising never to cross Melati again if she's allowed to live. It's then that she hears someone crying for help from beneath the floorboards. Listening closely, she realizes it's her father's voice, telling her Melati has trapped him there and asking his daughter to free him. Driven by desperation, Mariam frantically begins tearing up the floorboards. As she lifts them, she sees a deep well beneath. Mariam tries to peer into the dark well when suddenly a hideous, grotesque figure emerges from it. It's not a living person, but a horrifying, dead version of Mariam's father. Terrified, Mariam takes refuge in the washroom. Inside, she hears her father's voice again, claiming that despite his wrongdoings with other women, he never wronged Mariam. Mariam, confused, asks what he means. Did Melati speak the truth about him? But there's no one there. Mustering her courage, Mariam slowly emerges from the washroom, only to find her father's monstrous form gone. She goes to the door and again pleads with Melati for help. Melati calmly tells her that the horrific form of her father she saw is his true inner self. His character was that monstrous and ugly. Melati then suggests that Mariam is no less selfish than her father. Mariam continues to beg for mercy when, suddenly, her father's monstrous form emerges from the well again. He tries to attack Mariam from under the bed, but she kicks him, injuring him. She then grabs her shoe. Her father tries to appeal to her emotions, but Mariam reminds him that he was responsible for her mother's death and was never there for her or her mother. He was nothing but a bad memory. As Mariam approaches, her father retreats into the well, but before he can fully disappear, he lets out a shriek. Mariam realizes his leg is caught by a chain. As her father plunges into the well, Mariam is pulled along with him. She struggles desperately to save herself, but fails, falling into the water. She screams for Melati's help from below, but suddenly her father's spirit emerges and drags her deeper into the water. The scene shifts to the next morning. In the light of day, Melati and Golok enter the room. The floor is broken, and Mariam's corpse floats in the well below. Melati coldly remarks that she had warned Mariam, but her stubbornness led to this fate. She instructs Golok to retrieve Mariam's body and fix the place for new guests. The story takes us back to the past. Sidit, as per Melati's advice, managed to escape the cursed house. His father, Kusno, was too preoccupied. Kusno, a mad doctor, was obsessed with making a name for himself. In the world of science, he took advantage of helpless individuals, experimenting on them in the basement beneath his house. Ultimately killing them, their souls remained trapped there. But then Melati's cursed mother, Sumita, arrived. When Kusno tried to experiment on her, her curse spread throughout the house, freeing the trapped souls. Kusno knew all this, but refused to accept it as a curse. In the present time of that flashback, Kusno discovers a theory he believes will prove this is not a curse. Excited, he goes to tell his wife, only to find her dead. Deeply saddened, he goes to Melati's room and asks where Sidit is. Melati tells him Sidit has fled the house. Kusno then asks what happened to his wife. Melati reveals that his wife became a victim of the very curse he brought upon the house. Finally, Kusno accepts that it is indeed a curse. He asks Melati how he can survive. Melati tells him the house now demands human sacrifices. Kusno asks if he needs to sacrifice people. Melati clarifies that the house accepts human souls and blood, and Kusno can use the bodies for his experiments as he wishes. Hearing this, Kusno goes to the basement. As he burns his wife's body, he becomes deeply emotional. It's then that Melati's mother, Sumita, appears behind him. Despite all this, Kusno's experiments continue. He uses the black blood from the bite mark on his hand to inject it into a rat, which then develops the same mark seen on Sumita. This confirms that the curse can spread through blood. At that time, we see a young Sidit in the forest. He hasn't gone far from the house when he encounters some hunters who are chasing Golok. Yes, this was Golok 97 years ago, which explains why Golok's age hasn't increased in all this time. We will gradually learn more about this. In the present, Golok, following Melati's instructions, takes Mariam's body to the basement to burn it. After burning the corpse, he collects the ashes in a bowl and begins a black magic ritual. Meanwhile, Melati, wearing Mariam's shoes, sits at the dining table. Next to her is a talking doll. The doll tells Melati that their well has become very dirty. Melati replies that they can't close the well, even if they wanted to, because that is where they get their food, water. Hearing this, the doll knocks over the water in front of it. Elsewhere, after completing the black magic ritual, Golok seals the room's entrance. That afternoon, another guest arrives at Hotel Melati, a man named Jamie. He had been following a car and believes the person he's after, Yusuf, has taken refuge in this hotel. Jamie enters and asks Golok at the reception whose car is outside and which room the person in it is in. Golok initially refuses to answer, but deliberately leaves the registration book open in front of Jamie, so Jamie sees that Yusuf is indeed staying at the hotel. Just then, Melati arrives. One of the hotel's main rules is that new guests must first have a cup of tea with Melati, so Jamie accompanies Melati to the living room for tea. Jamie isn't afraid of Melati's strange doll there. Melati asks if he has any children. Jamie replies that he had a daughter. Jamie then recounts his tragic story. He was heavily in the debt to Yusuf. When he couldn't repay on time, Yusuf came to his house. Jamie wasn't home that day. Yusuf murdered Jamie's wife and child. By the time Jamie returned, it was too late. He didn't call the police. Instead, he set out to seek justice, revenge, Against Yusuf himself, his pursuit led him to this hotel. He requests Melati to give him Yusuf's room key so he can exact his revenge. Melati tries to reason with him, explaining that revenge is not a good thing. While it might provide temporary satisfaction, it corrupts the soul. Melati, sensing Jamie is a good person, doesn't want him to stay in any of the hotel's rooms. She offers him two options: either let Yusuf suffer the consequences of his own actions, or seek revenge and put himself in danger by taking a room. Melati knows Yusuf is tormented by guilt, but if Jamie tries to kill him, Yusuf won't just sit back. Jamie doesn't understand Melati's hint. He had already decided that only one of them would leave the hotel alive, either him or Yusuf, so he disregards Melati's advice and books a room. As Golok leads him to the room, Jamie notices the paintings in the hallway. Outside his room, there's a painting of the hotel with two hanging bodies on a banyan tree, which then disappears. Jamie enters his room and Golok immediately locks the door from the outside. Surprising Jamie, he tries to open the door but, unable to, doesn't dwell on it and goes to the washroom. There, he suddenly sees something that frightens him. He knows Yusuf is in the adjacent room, so he presses his ear to the wall. His finger pressure creates a small hole in the wall. He widens the hole and sees Yusuf in the next room. Upon seeing Yusuf, Jamie can't control himself. He quickly pulls out a gun from his bag and loads it. Besides the gun, he has various other weapons, all for killing Yusuf. We see that Yusuf himself is not at peace. He's filled with immense guilt for killing Jamie's wife and especially his young daughter. And because he's in a room at Losmen Melati, the hotel's game has already begun with him. He too seems agitated and is holding a gun, which Jamie spots through the hole. But before Jamie can shoot, Yusuf dives onto the bed, moving out of Jamie's line of sight. Jamie can't do anything then. The story shifts back to Melati's past. Melati stands alone in her room when her mother's spirit appears and apologizes for giving her such a cursed life. Melati says she wants a better life but never blames her mother for this cursed one. She knows her mother was forced into it. Her mother then reveals that Melati herself carries a curse, and if she dies in this house, the curse on the house will become even more terrifying. Furthermore, because Kusno dissected her dead mother's body, Kusno is also cursed, and his condition is worsening day by day. So they must be careful. After saying this, Sumita's spirit leaves and a noose appears in Melati's hand. The scene returns to the present. We see Jamie looking at pictures of his wife and child, becoming very emotional. Suddenly, a horrific form of his wife appears before him, terrifying Jamie. Then a sound comes from the adjacent room. Jamie slowly moves towards it when a gunshot rings out. Yusuf had realized Jamie was in the next room and had fired. The bullet hits Jamie's leg. Yusuf fires several more shotgun blasts, so Jamie also repeatedly fires his gun, and one bullet hits Yusuf in the chest. Yusuf takes refuge in the washroom, leaving his gun on the floor. Jamie sees it and breaks through the wall, moving towards him. Meanwhile, in Yusuf's washroom, a shadow figure appears before him, making Yusuf scream. By the time Jamie reaches the washroom with his gun, Yusuf is already dead. Suddenly, someone stands up from the other side of the bathtub. Jamie immediately fires his gun. As the curtain opens, he sees that it's the spirit of his daughter. Jamie embraces her. His daughter warns him that Yusuf's biggest regret was killing her, which is why he died and came here. She urges her father to leave quickly, otherwise someone else will come. Jamie asks who. His daughter replies, "Mother." Jamie is utterly confused but embraces his daughter one last time before she vanishes into thin air. Jamie sits there weeping. He then hears a dragging sound and, moving closer, sees the adjacent room is on fire and his wife's spirit is hanging there looking horrific. Now he understands what his daughter meant. He immediately tries to apologize to his wife's spirit for not being there to save them that day. His wife's spirit blames him for their deaths. He realizes he's too late. This hotel primarily preys on people's regrets. He tries to argue that it's not his real wife, but a figment of his mind, but it's too late. His wife's spirit drags him into the fire, and Jamie burns to death. The next morning, when Melati arrives, she sees the room is completely normal except for the broken wall between the two rooms and two dead bodies on either side. Melati regrets Jamie's death, knowing she had warned him. The story goes back to the past again. The curse was slowly spreading throughout Kusno's body. He was experimenting with it when a knock sounds at the door below. Melati, no longer chained by Kusno as he knew she wouldn't leave, comes down and opens the door without fear. Sidit and Golok enter. Golok explains that Sidit saved him from the hunters who kill anyone different, just as they did to Melati's mother, calling them witches and hanging them. Melati was saved by her best friend, but her mother couldn't be saved that day. Similarly, Golok, being dwarf-like, was considered a black magic practitioner and was to be killed. He also reveals that if the hunters find out Kusno is hiding a cursed child, they will kill him too and burn the entire house. The Melati then gives Golok a task. Bring the hunters inside the house. She will handle the rest. Golok complies and leads the hunters into the house. Initially, the hunters were hesitant as Kusno had helped them kill Melati's mother in exchange for her body, but they now know Melati is still alive and under Kusno's care. So they decide to break their deal with Kusno and punish him. They enter the house. Once inside, the four hunters split up. One finds Sidit, who is hiding behind a chair. Another finds Kusno, who is sitting calmly in a chair. Melati is lying on her bed in her room, and a hunter approaches her. Another hunter follows Golok to his best friend's location. Meanwhile, a spirit appears to Sidit, scaring him, and the hunter discovers Sidit's presence. Similarly, the hunter in Melati's room discovers her. It's then that we see Melati's terrifying true form. Simultaneously, the numerous spirits within the house awaken. Melati uses these spirits to confuse the hunters. Taking advantage of this, everyone present mercilessly kills their respective hunters. This is how they eliminate all four hunters. After this, Melati descends the stairs and confronts Kusno, asking if he's satisfied. Melati says no because the leader of these hunters is still alive, clearly referring to Kusno. Kusno understands but knows Melati possesses immense power that he cannot defeat, so he doesn't initiate hostilities with Melati. Melati even decides to keep Golok there, and Kusno cannot object. From that day forward, Golok helps Melati with everything. The story returns to the present. Golok fixes the wall between the two rooms. He then goes to the room where the black chickens are kept, kills one, and collects its blood, as he does every day. We can infer that this black magic ritual is performed to pacify the spirits of the house. That evening, no new guests have arrived at the hotel. A powerful storm rages outside. Golok believes no one will come, not only because of the storm, but because it is a terrifying night. According to the Indonesian calendar, a night when people are afraid to leave their homes. Melati reminds him if he has made the offering. Golok hasn't yet, which slightly angers Melati. Golok quickly goes to prepare the offering, which is for Pretat's spirits meant to appease them. He places the offering outside the hotel. As soon as he goes back inside, a woman appears outside the hotel in the storm. Unaware of her presence, Golok goes to talk to Melati. Melati is sitting with a picture of a child, and Golok asks, "Tonight is the night, isn't it? What are we celebrating?" Melati replies, "No, when the right time comes, we will bring Arri back, and then we will celebrate." We understand that the child in the picture is Melati's son, Arri. Melati is also holding the doll she talks to. Essentially, Melati wants to bring her son back to life, just as she brought Golok back. Yes, Golok had died and Melati resurrected him. This is only possible in this house, and to do it, they need a dead body that matches the person they want to revive in terms of blood and soul. Only through a person whose blood matches Arri's can Melati revive him. Golok asks why Melati revived him first. Melati explains that she found a suitable body and blood group for Golok first, which she hasn't yet found for Arri and Sidit. She considers herself lucky to have saved Golok first, because if Golok hadn't been by her side, she never would have survived in this house for so long. As they talk, the offering placed outside the house falls over. Just then, a girl knocks on the door. Melati and Golok are surprised that someone arrived in such a storm. Melati finds the girl's behavior quite strange. The girl introduces herself as Gira. When she shakes Melati's hand, Melati feels something odd, even stranger. Gira approaches Melati's terrifying portrait of her mother and praises it, a picture that would normally frighten anyone. She expresses her desire to buy the painting, but Melati says she doesn't want to sell it. Gira then tells her that she should free her mother, surprising Melati. Gira explains the painting is unique and keeping it confined within such a place, such a hotel, is like keeping it imprisoned. She suggests Melati should give it to a good place, meaning sell it to her. But Melati refuses, according to hotel rules. Melati asks Gira if she wants tea, and Gira readily agrees and going straight to the living room. Although Melati asks her to sit on the sofa, Gira sits on the chair where the doll usually sits. From the very beginning, Melati finds Gira suspicious. Gira asks Melati if she has any children. Many guests have asked Melati this before, but until now, Melati has never lied. For the first time, Melati lies to Gira, saying she has no children. Gira reveals she has started working for an NGO whose mission is to rescue children unhappy with their parents. Melati questions how this could be a good deed, as it separates children from their parents. And as she says this, she starts smoking a cigarette. We see that the cigarette smoke makes Gira visibly uncomfortable. Various parts of her body itch and green spots appear on her skin. She continues to talk strangely about children, making Melati increasingly uneasy. Gira then points to Arri's picture there and asks if Melati is sure she has no child. Melati states that the picture belongs to her ancestors and she doesn't know anything about it. This means Melati is lying to Gira out of some unknown fear. Just then, Golok arrives. Gira doesn't want any more tea. She asks Golok to show her a room. Although Melati initially didn't want to keep her, she eventually agrees. Golok leads her to the room. Gira's demeanor becomes increasingly strange. She seems delighted by the paintings around her, while others would be terrified. Moreover, her gaze fixates on the basement door, which Golok doesn't notice. He leads her into the room, locks the door from the outside, and leaves. But strangely, Gira doesn't react at all to being locked in. This puzzles Golok, and he goes to talk to Melati. Melati also feels Gira is hiding something from her. Just then, they hear a sound. Gira has unlocked her door. Melati and Golok are both astonished, as this is impossible. This house has never allowed anyone to leave once they've entered a room. Golok takes a shortcut, and they both rush towards Gira's room. They find Gira moving very strangely. She exits her room and enters the room across the hall. Melati and Golok follow her, but Gira isn't in that room either. She emerges from another room. At this point, Melati and Golok realize that Gira is no ordinary human. She is a ghost, Patini, in human form, who has come to their hotel. Gira continues to move forward, shedding her clothes as she walks. She reaches the basement door. This scene is the most interesting and terrifying in the entire series. Melati angrily demands how Gira dared to try and enter the basement. Gira replies that a child's soul in the basement wants freedom and she can't control herself from its cries. She must go to the child. As soon as she says this, Melati, enraged, shoots her, causing Gira to fall into the basement. They enter the basement and find Gira sitting in front of a door. Gira, now revealed as the ghost, tells Melati that she has imprisoned a soul there. Melati corrects her, saying she has protected it. Gira claims it's her responsibility to protect children's souls, and she will take this soul to where she keeps other children's souls. She tells Melati that she's not a good mother. Melati understands that she is facing a Wewe Gombel, a notorious Indonesian ghost known for instigating children against their parents and imprisoning their souls. The narrator mentions another story, Mani, where this is explained further. The fight between Melati and Wewe Gombel, Gira, begins. Golok immediately falls unconscious. We see Melati's terrifying form as she fights Wewe Gombel, but she struggles. The ghost throws her away and enters the room where Melati had safely kept her son Arri, hoping to revive him. For a moment, Melati fears she will lose her son forever, but at the right moment, her mother, Sumita's spirit, arrives and snaps Wewe Gombel's neck, killing her. Seeing this, Melati's hope returns. After Wewe Gombel's death, her spirit leaves Gira's body, and Gira returns to her human form. Golok covers her, then makes tea for Melati. Here we learn about the special day Golok had mentioned before Gira's arrival. Just as it's a terrifying night in Indonesian folklore, it's also a memorable night in Melati's life. Arri died tonight. After this incident, she misses Arri terribly. She doesn't want to wait another moment. She tells Golok to quickly arrange Arri's revival as she can't take any more risks. Saying this, she puts on music and Melati and Golok dance to it. From the shadows, Melati's mother, Sumita's spirit, watches and smiles. The scene then cuts to the basement. The door to the cell next to where Gira was burned is open. This cell is where Kusno was imprisoned. Yes, Kusno is still alive. 7 days earlier, a thief who broke into the hotel, a story covered in the previous story installment, which is not explained here again, had accidentally freed him. The previous story showed how Kusno was freed, but what happened to the thief after Kusno was freed is revealed in this series. Kusno emerges from the cell in his horrific form and pounces on the thief. He bites and tears the thief apart. As he feeds, Kusno's appearance slowly returns to normal. His terrifying form vanishes and he becomes a normal human. Kusno himself is surprised. This means Kusno is no longer an ordinary human. He has transformed into a terrifying monster due to the curse. He examines various items in the basement as he has been trapped there for the last 70 years and has no idea how much the outside world has progressed. He picks up some clothes, puts them on, and exits the hotel. However, he is terrified to go outside. When Sumita's internal demon had bitten him, he tried to run away. Sidit managed to escape that day, but Kusno couldn't. An invisible route from inside the house had dragged him back in. He fears the same will happen again. So, with trepidation, he slowly steps out of the hotel. This time, no route drags him back inside. Kusno is overjoyed and runs away. The reason for this is that over time, the house's power has diminished compared to Kusno's. Kusno has become incredibly powerful due to the curse. He looks just like Melati's mother, Sumita, neither dead nor alive. It was impossible to kill him. In a word, he had become somewhat immortal. We learn all this from Melati and Golok's conversation. Now, the thief who freed Kusno is found dead on the road. During the investigation, bite marks are found on his neck. Since the incident occurred near Hotel Melati, Inspector Adil himself wants to investigate the hotel. He first tries to talk to Golok, but Melati arrives and takes him inside to the living room. In this living room, Melati kept the belongings of all the guests who had ever stayed there. Adil sees some of the thief's belongings, increasing his suspicion. As he questions Melati about the thief, we see Golok waiting in the adjacent room with a gun, ready to shoot the police officer if anything goes wrong, but nothing happens. Melati handles the situation. She has answers to all of Adil's questions. Adil is impressed by her responses and decides to check the hotel rooms. He calls for Golok. Golok accompanies Adil as he checks each room. However, Adil is very cautious, preventing Golok from trapping him in any room. He checks every room, including the washrooms, from where he takes a picture. Suddenly, he sees someone behind the washroom curtain, but when he pulls it back, there's no one there. Jokingly, he asks Golok if the local rumors of ghosts in the hotel are true. Golok replies that if there were ghosts, he would never stay there. After checking all the rooms, Adil approaches the basement door. He asks Golok to open it, but Golok says only Melati has the key to this lock, and it's always kept locked. He explains that behind this door are the basement stairs, which are very slippery, and they don't want any guests to have an accident. This is quite ironic, given that guests are brutally murdered every night, yet they claim to protect them from accidents. For now, Adil finds no evidence there. He gives Melati his card and leaves. Melati then instructs Golok that if Adil returns, he must ensure Adil doesn't leave the hotel alive. Following this, Adil continues his investigation for a few days, becoming convinced that there is indeed some mystery hidden within Melati's hotel. To uncover this mystery, he decides they must go to Hotel Melati, but not as police officers. If they go as police, Melati will become cautious. So Adil tells another police officer, Osman, to go there as a new model TV salesman. Adil had noticed some old TVs in the hotel. Although Melati isn't interested in buying a TV, Osman tries to persuade her, also mentioning that he came from far away and has heavy equipment, TVs, so he can't return home that night. Melati then gives him permission to stay, promising to buy a TV from him the next morning if she sees him. Poor Osman doesn't understand what this means. Golok takes him to his assigned room. Meanwhile, we see Adil talking to Sarah, another police officer, who is also his wife. Both are police officers, but Sarah is posted in a different location. Adil explains his case to Sarah, Sarah promises to gather some information about the hotel and let him know. Adil had already informed Osman that Golok would lock the door from the outside once he entered the hotel room. Adil had learned this through his investigation. He was also completely certain that while every hotel room had a TV, none of them worked. So Osman's main task would be to install cameras inside the TVs so they could record everything happening in the room. After setting up the cameras, he was to release spiders throughout the room. These were a special species of spider that reproduced very quickly. Adil's plan was for Osman to spend that night there, and in a few days, when the spiders spread throughout the hotel, Adil and his team would go there under the guise of an infestation and retrieve the cameras from the TVs. Osman tells him he is very afraid of spiders, but Adil reassures him that once released, the spiders won't stay in his room. Since the spiders were to be released on the bed, Osman decides not to sleep there. Instead, he plans to spend the night sitting on a chair, listening to music. Adil also stays awake that night, ready to assist Osman if needed. Suddenly, Sarah calls him. She has gathered information and learned that Losmen Melati is a very dangerous place, and anyone who stays in its rooms never returns alive. She warns Adil to be cautious and never enter a hotel room himself if he goes for an investigation. Hearing this, Adil is a bit alarmed. He quickly tries to contact Osman, but it's too late. The hotel room has begun its game. Osman, hearing a crawling sound, notices countless spider webs all around him, and the hotel's spirits are exploiting Osman's fear of spiders. Since Osman isn't picking up the phone, Adil doesn't waste another moment. He quickly drives off towards Hotel Melati. Meanwhile, terrified Osman becomes completely entangled in spider webs. With great difficulty, he removes the webs from his mouth. Just then, a terrifyingly large spider emerges from under the bed and attacks him, killing Osman. Unaware of this, Adil is still driving towards Losmen Melati to save Osman. As he drives quickly, he suddenly sees Kuzno on the road ahead, eating a man. Adil is utterly horrified, and his car crashes. He falls unconscious. A short while later, 2 police officers arrive and revive Adil. Adil tries to explain that he didn't hit the body. It was already there, and a man was tearing at it and eating it. But the 2 officers don't believe him. They think Adil was driving too fast due to the trauma, and that's why the accident happened. Adil tries to tell them that Osman is in danger and he needs to go to Losmen Melati immediately to save his life. Then a police officer named Mosto says that even if Adil isn't responsible for the accident, he can't be allowed to go like this. One of them will have to go to help Osman. The other officer says he will stay here and investigate everything. Thus, Mosto is forced to go for the investigation. When Mosto reaches the hotel, he sees its name has changed to Losmen Melati, which means Hotel of the Dead. He bravely enters. Seeing a police officer in uniform enter the hotel, Melati is reminded of a night 80 years ago. By then, Sidit and Melati had both grown up. Kuzno's curse was becoming more terrifying day by day, and he couldn't leave the house. The house had transformed into a hotel managed by Sidit and Golok. That day, 2 soldiers arrived at the hotel. As they entered, they saw Melati upstairs. Sidit goes to Melati and tells her 2 soldiers have arrived. He says if she doesn't give him a positive answer, he will go to war with those soldiers. Melati replies that at least then he would be far from this house. We understand that Sidit was in love with Melati and wanted to marry her, but Melati refused. She also loved Sidit, but she didn't want him to be trapped in her cursed life. She wanted him to leave the house by any means necessary. Hearing Melati's words, Sidit is heartbroken. He feels as if Melati doesn't love him at all. So he decides he will indeed go to war with the soldiers. That night, after eating, The soldiers are drinking. Sidit approaches them and asks if he can join them. They reply that he must prove his bravery. One of the officers had his eye on Melati, so he asks Sidit if Melati is his wife. Sidit remains silent, making them realize that Sidit likes Melati. They then tempt Sidit with the offer of joining the army and tell him that to prove his bravery, he must drink alcohol. Sidit, not fully understanding, drinks heavily and soon becomes completely drunk and falls asleep. Taking advantage of this, the two officers go to Melati's room. Kusno sees them going to Melati's room and is delighted. Finally, he will get his revenge on Melati, so he goes and sits next to his son. Meanwhile, one of the two officers enters Melati's room while the other guards outside. Melati realizes someone has entered her room and tries to do something, but the officer strikes her head with his gun, causing Melati to fall unconscious. By the time Sidit regains consciousness, it is too late. He sees his father sitting in front of him. He asks his father where the two officers are. His father tells him not to help Melati. Hearing this, Sidit understands everything. By then, Melati's mother, Sumita's spirit, has appeared before the officer guarding outside. Terrified, the officer runs down the stairs. Meanwhile, enraged, Sidit also goes to stop the two officers. He hits the officer's leg with a rod, causing him to fall down the stairs. Sidit then kills him. On the other hand, Melati takes a while to regain consciousness, but when she does, she chokes the officer to death. Just then, Sidit arrives. Seeing Sidit, Melati calms down a bit and moves to another room. Sidit realizes he couldn't protect Melati. 9 months pass after this incident. That night, Melati had become pregnant. It was time for Melati's delivery. Sidit still couldn't forgive himself, so he couldn't even stand by Melati in her difficult time. Only Golok was with Melati, helping her with the delivery. Melati gives birth to a healthy baby boy who is not cursed, making Melati very happy. That day, as Sidit was going towards Melati's room, Kusno calls him and asks if he's going to accept Melati's illegitimate child now. He tells Sidit that no matter how much he tries, Melati will never love him, and everything that has happened is because of Melati. He says that the disease curse has spread to his father, Sidit, because of Melati, and though they call it a curse, he will never accept it as such. Kusno explains that Sumita's disease has spread and his father's disease has cursed Sidit's life. So he tries to instigate Sidit to get rid of Melati and the child. Otherwise, he will remain under Melati's feet his entire life and Melati will never value him. Hearing all this, Sidit is deeply hurt. The scene returns to the present. Mosto enters the hotel, searching for Osman. Meanwhile, Golok has taken Osman's body to be cremated. Mosto, while searching for Osman, comes across a painting. We see Sumita's spirit behind him. Suddenly, the painting comes alive, and a scream, along with blood, hits Mosto's eyes. Immediately, at Sumita's command, Mosto begins to convulse. As a result, the door in front of him opens automatically. He sees Osman sitting inside in front of a TV. Mosto calls out to him, but Osman calls him inside instead. Mosto realizes something is abnormal. Just then, Melati arrives wielding an axe. She brutally attacks Mosto, killing him there. At that moment, we see Adil standing with another police officer on the jungle-lined road, waiting for other police personnel. Adil is extremely uncomfortable, unable to go and save Osman. Suddenly, sounds are heard from the bushes. The other police officer moves towards them. although Adil warns him not to, as Adil's gun is still in the car. Adil goes to retrieve his gun. Meanwhile, someone attacks the police officer. It's Kusno. He then attacks Adil too, but Adil manages to drive away, saving his life. The scene moves to the next morning. Golok is working at the hotel reception when an old woman appears, instantly getting very close to Golok. From their conversation, we understand that Golok and this old woman are old acquaintances. Golok was, in fact, waiting for her. The old woman's name is Wati. Golok gives her a room key, and the old woman goes to that room. Meanwhile, Adil arrives at Losmen Melati in his car early in the morning. He has decided he will uncover the mystery of Losmen Melati. So he parks his car in the nearby jungle and takes another path towards Losmen Melati, a path Kusno secretly observes from the shadows. Golok asks Melati if she's sure Wati is still powerful. Melati replies that a shaman's power never diminishes. Instead, it increases with age. Suddenly, Wati emerges from the room. She is no longer an old woman. She has become young again upon entering the house, appearing to be Melati's age. This is perhaps why Melati and Golok also don't age. Wati asks Melati about Kusno because she felt Kusno's presence as soon as she arrived outside the house. Melati informs her that Kusno has escaped. Wati is alarmed, saying Kusno has cheated death and defeating him now won't be easy. Melati replies that this is precisely why she doesn't want to take any more risks. She wants to revive Sidit and Arri as quickly as possible. Saying this, Melati takes Wati to the basement where Sidit and Arri's preserved bodies are. Wati asks Melati if she is sure she wants to revive Sidit. Has she forgotten what Sidit did to her? Can she trust Sidit again? Melati replies that she has forgiven Sidit over time because she knows he is a good person at heart and he will never betray her. That's why she wants to revive Sidit and Arri together. They have found matching blood groups, body parts, and souls for both of them. So Wati begins her ritual. The ritual is quite terrifying and strange. Meanwhile, Adil is slowly approaching Losmen Melati via the back road. Kusno suddenly appears before him. Seeing Kusno in broad daylight, Adil recognizes him. Kusno's name was on the house 80 years ago, but Adil is astonished that Kusno is still the same age. Kusno tells him that Melati kills and burns various people in this hotel, including his two companions, Mosto and Osman. Kusno further says that Adil is very dedicated and revenge-driven, just like Kusno. Therefore, they can unite and take revenge on Melati. Adil considers this for a moment. Then he tells Kusno that taking revenge and seeking justice are not the same thing. Adil wants true justice while Kusno seeks revenge. Adil says he will take revenge on Melati later. For now, he wants revenge on Kusno for killing his fellow police officer. Saying this, he shoots Kusno directly in the forehead. The gunshot makes Melati and Wati worried. Golok goes upstairs to check if everything is all right. Meanwhile, Golok sees the main door open and Adil in the reception area. Adil points a gun at Golok and demands to be taken to Osman and Mosto. Golok takes a room key and tells him to follow. This means Golok is about to trap Adil in a room, and we know the outcome. But poor Adil doesn't know. So he follows Golok to a room with a well beneath the floor. Golok tells him Osman is in there. Adil says he won't fall for that trick. There's no well here. Golok then tells him to listen for the sound of water. As Adil leans closer, Melati arrives. Seeing Melati with a gun, Adil puts his own gun down. Melati then tells Adil that she never wanted to kill him, but this house wants Adil's soul. Saying this, she shoots the floor, causing Adil to fall into the well below. Golok looks sadly at the well when Melati asks why. Golok says his gun fell down. Melati gives Golok her own gun. Meanwhile, outside, we see Kuzno, who is unharmed by the bullet to his forehead. Even the mark of the injury disappears. Melati goes to the basement and sees Arri has come back to life. 70 years of dedication had finally paid off. Seeing her only son revived like this, Melati becomes very emotional. Then Sidit, sitting nearby, asks her why she revived him, as he doesn't deserve it. Melati replies that she has given Sidit a second chance. Sidit says if she doesn't trust him, why did she revive him? Melati says trust must be earned, as betrayal is very hard to forget. Hearing this, Sidit falls silent. After this, we see Arri in his room. Melati sees Arri looking at the scar on his chest. Arri says he doesn't remember anything. Melati becomes worried. Wati explains that it will take some time for his memory to return, just like Golok, but children usually take longer. However, Sidit's memory returned as soon as he was revived. Golok escorts Sidit to his room. Sidit asks Golok what has happened all this time. Golok says, many things. Sidit then says his father must not have changed and asks why Melati brought him back to that life when she doesn't want it. Golok replies that Melati has given him a second chance and now it's his choice who to pick, his father or the person who gave him a second life. Golok shows the scar on his own chest, making Sidit realize that Melati also revived Golok. This means Golok himself is grateful to Melati. Sidit then looks at the ring Melati gave him, which is still on the bedside table in his room. Melati had been warned by Wati earlier that Kuzno's power is beyond their imagination. He can revive all the dead people whose bodies were not burned and who died due to the house's curse. This refers to the 4 hunters whose bodies were buried near the hotel by Sidit and Golok. So Wati tells Melati to seek help from the house spirits so they can win the fight against the hunters again. We then see Kuzno going to the spot where the 4 hunters were buried. He first digs up the soil, then cuts his hand and spills his blood onto the 4 skeletons. Immediately, the skeletons revive and slowly transform into flesh and blood humans. Kuzno tells them that now is the time to burn everyone, along with the house. This means Kuzno's army of the dead is ready to fight Melati and her allies. This scene of Kuzno reviving the dead happens at night, but a few hours earlier in the daytime, we see Sarah arriving in the city searching for a deal. She's surprised to see 2 bodies on the road and becomes even more anxious about finding a deal as he isn't answering his phone. Meanwhile, Arri's memories are slowly returning. As he talks, he suddenly exclaims, Sidit uncle is a very bad person. He killed Arri. His mother tries to explain, but Arri won't listen. We now understand why Sidit repeatedly told Melati that he broke her trust and didn't deserve to live. Perhaps something happened in the past where he killed Arri. Essentially, he didn't like Arri from the beginning, and Melati was not unaware of this. She also knew that Kuzno always poisoned Sidit's mind against Arri. Now, when Arri was 10 years old, Kuzno succeeded in his research, meaning his blood had become so cursed that it could revive dead bodies, turning them into zombies. Kuzno had finally found the path to immortality he had sought his entire life, and for this reason, he decides to end everything. He calls Sidit and gives him a diary containing all his research on how to revive dead people, including matching souls, blood, and body parts. Kuzno tells Sidit to take this diary and go far away from this cursed life. Saying this, Kusno gives Sidit a knife and tells him that whenever he hears a gunshot, he should take care of everyone else, meaning kill them all, so that this curse ends in this house and Sidit's pain also ends. We understand that he was essentially telling Sidit to kill Arri, as Arri was the only obstacle in Sidit's path. The scene returns to the present. Arri sees Wati packing her belongings, about to leave. He goes to Wati and asks her to stay. Wati says she must fulfill her duty because she's a shaman who helps everyone. Arri asks her how she became a shaman. Wati then tells her own story. Wati's mother was a shaman who practiced black magic. Melati's mother, Sumita, had gone to her when her husband died in war, leaving her completely alone and without money for food. Sumita had lost many children before, so she made a deal with the devil with Wati's mother's help. She would give her unborn child, Melati, to the devil in exchange for wealth. But when Sumita saw Melati born perfectly healthy, she broke the deal with the devil, which resulted in her becoming cursed. She lived with Melati under this curse for several years. However, Kusno then gave her hope, promising to cure her with his advanced science. So, Kusno invited Sumita to his house on a special night. Sumita came to Kusno's house with Melati. Just then the hunters arrived, and because Melati and Sumita were cursed, the hunters hanged them on a tree outside the house. Young Wati, the shaman's daughter, was present there. Essentially, Wati and Melati had been friends since childhood. When the hunters left after hanging them, Wati rushed to save her friend. Melati was still alive. Wati somehow managed to save Melati that day, but she regrets not being able to save Sumita. After Melati survived that day, Sidit hid her in his house because Sidit was also young then and he knew his father wanted to experiment on Melati's mother, Sumita's body. That's why he gave Melati shelter. The scene returns to the present. Before Wati leaves, she gives Arri a doll, telling him this doll will protect him from danger. Saying this, Wati bids farewell to Melati and leaves. As Wati exits the hotel, she transforms back into an old woman, a sight Sidit, who is inside the hotel, witnesses. At that moment, Sidit sees the knife under his bed, the knife his father had given him to kill Arri. He had taken that knife to Arri, but hadn't killed him that day. Thinking this, he walks towards Arri in the present. He sees Arri playing with the doll Wati gave him. Melati is sitting next to him. Arri asks Melati what happened that night. Melati hesitates, but seeing Arri insist, tells him everything. That night, after giving the knife to Sidit, Kusno called Melati to his room. He loaded 2 bullets into his pistol in front of Melati, making Melati realize that the time had come. Here, a big mystery is revealed. We learn that Kusno was the leader of that hunter team. He was the one who wanted to hang and kill Melati and her mother Sumita on the tree so that he could use Sumita's body for his research without any hindrance. And Wati had witnessed this that day and already informed Melati about it. This means Melati knew everything from the beginning. Kusno asks her that if she knew everything, why didn't she kill him all this time since she killed all the other hunters? Melati replies that she wanted to see Kusno suffer, to watch him writhe and die from this disease. As they are talking, Sidit arrives, having not killed Arri. It's then that Kusno shoots Melati. He had loaded 2 bullets, one to kill Melati and the other to kill himself. But just then Golok arrives. Meanwhile, Sidit sees Arri running towards them, so he goes to stop him. As he realizes his father would kill Arri, if he saw him. Golok attacks Kusno, but Kusno doesn't die. Instead, he uses the same bullet to kill Golok. On the other hand, Sidit ran to save Arri, but Arri, seeing the knife in Sidit's hand, is terrified. He runs away, falls down the stairs, and dies. So Arri was not killed by Sidit that day. It was an accident. As a result, Sidit is so broken that when his father approaches him, he slits his father's throat, killing him because Kusno had ruined everything in an instant. Now, only Sidit is left alive in the entire house. Sidit goes to Melati, his only love. He then sees Melati's blood slowly drying, meaning she is healing because she is immortal due to the curse. A little later, Melati regains consciousness. She sees Golok's body next to her. She rushes to Arri but cannot find him anywhere. Then she sees a trail of blood leading to the basement. So she rushes to the basement where she finds Ari's body. Next to Arri, Sidit has ended his own life. Seeing Ari's dead body, Melati is completely heartbroken. She then finds a letter written by Sidit which says that this curse has destroyed them all. So Sidit is leaving. However, Arri deserves to live. He left all the methods for revival from his father is research in a note so that Melati could revive Arri. And in this way, perhaps one day she would forgive Sidit. With this hope, Sidit leaves her a task to destroy Kusno. Yes, Kusno had survived because of the curse. Sidit had trapped him in the cellar. Melati goes there and sets it on fire, hoping to completely destroy Kusno, but Kusno did not die completely even after burning in that fire. He remained trapped in that cellar for 70 years, surviving by eating rats and insects. Then, 7 days ago, Kusno was freed from that cellar by the thief. Now, in the present, we see Kusno arriving before Wati, accompanied by the 4 hunters. Kusno kills Wati to prevent her from helping Melati in any way. After this, he sets out to destroy Melati. However, before he can reach her, Sarah arrives at Losmen Melati that night. She sees Mosto's bike there and becomes even more worried about Adil. Inside, she finds no one at the reception, so she cautiously moves forward, calling out for Adil. As she reaches the rooms, Melati calls out to her from behind, saying that to be a guest at this hotel, she must first speak with Melati. Saying this, Melati goes inside, and Sarah follows her to talk. Initially, Sarah tries to extract information about the missing people from Melati. When she fails, she decides to arrest Melati. As she goes to arrest Melati, Golok shoots her from a hidden spot. Sarah shoots back in retaliation. Then she sees Melati vanish from that spot. Sarah is confused, not knowing what to do or where Adil is. She first opens a door and finds Golok's gun lying there. When she opens the second door, Melati's mother, Sumita's spirit, appears before her. Terrified, she runs into the adjacent room and the door slams shut behind her. This room contains the well where Adil is. Adil is still alive. He starts calling out to Sarah. Sarah cannot see him in the dark well, but she finds a chain, drops it down, and tells Adil to climb up. Meanwhile, Kusno with his 4 hunters reaches Losmen Melati. He first burns the hotel's nameplate outside and then sets the house on fire. Everyone inside, including Melati, has realized what's happening. Melati tells Arri to hide in the upstairs room, but Arri refuses to leave his mother. Then, Sidit convinces him that they are a family and they will all stand by each other. Now that Arri knows Sidit didn't kill him, he trusts Sidit and goes to the upstairs room. Meanwhile, we see Adil. telling Sarah repeatedly that this room will play with her mind and she should not focus on anything else but listen to Adil's words. However, by then, the room had already started playing terrifying games with Sarah. Sarah sees a horrific spirit under the bed. It is the spirit of Jamie's daughter. Since Sarah was investigating Jamie's missing person case, along with the murder of his wife and child, she also sees Jamie's wife's spirit there, which attacks Sarah. But Adil has managed to climb up by then and somehow pulls Sarah away. Meanwhile, the hunters try to enter the house through various paths. So Melati tells Golok to go to Arri's room to save him. Melati goes to the back door while the responsibility of guarding the front door falls on Sidit. Two hunters enter through the front door and Sidit engages in a fierce fight with them, getting severely wounded. Meanwhile, Golok fights a hunter who entered Arri's room, and Golok is easily killed since these hunters are essentially dead bodies. Killing them is not easy. But Arri then remembers Wati's magical doll. It was a magical doll, so with its help, Arri easily kills the hunter. Melati also fights a hunter in her terrifying form. Just then, Kusno enters. Kusno tells his hunter that he will take care of Melati and the hunter should go and check the hotel's guest rooms. The hunter complies and goes to check the guest rooms. When he reaches Adil and Sarah's room, he senses people inside. So he first breaks down the door and enters. Then a fight begins between Adil and Sarah and the hunter. They also fight desperately to save their lives from this lifeless body. Meanwhile, Kusno and Melati are fighting. Melati stabs Kusno with a knife, and at the same time, Kusno stabs Melati in the stomach. But since they are both immortal, nothing should happen to them. So Kusno then snaps Melati's neck. But before breaking her neck, he tells Melati that he will first research her son to learn how Melati revived Arri, and then he will give Arri a painful death. So, before dying, Melati quickly tells Arri to hide. Arri then runs away. During all this, we see Sarah and Adil. Sarah wraps the hunter in a chain and shoves him into the well. However, before the hunter falls, he pulls Sarah along with him. Sarah also dies in this house. Adil is severely wounded. He somehow exits the room. But just then, Kusno arrives. Arri had run towards the basement, and Kusno had followed him there. On his way, he is delighted to see his old enemy, Adil. He had offered Adil friendship, but Adil refused. And Kusno now takes very terrifying revenge. He makes Adil immortal by biting him, thereby cursing him. After this, he follows Arri to the basement. Adil escapes somewhere far from the house. We see Arri hiding inside a cellar. When Kusno enters, Arri throws ash into his eyes, causing Kusno's eyes to burn. Arri then escapes. He first meets Sidit and bids him a final farewell, then hides near the tree outside. Kusno follows Arri to Sidit and tells him he can make him immortal, but he would never give such valuable power to an unworthy son like him. Sidit says he doesn't want to live with that power. It's a curse to him. Hearing this, Kusno leaves and Sidit breathes his last there. Meanwhile, Kusno catches Arri outside. He is about to kill Arri when Wati arrives. Yes, Wati did not die. She is a mystical shaman who can manipulate nature in such a way that ordinary people might believe she is dead. And with this power, she had deceived Kusno. Kusno is surprised to see her. Just then, Melati's mother, Sumita, puts a noose around Kusno's neck. Since she was hanged and killed on this very tree, her power was strongest here. As the noose goes around Kusno's neck, Arri flees. Wati then steps forward and begins chanting. She starts a ritual to remove the curse from Kusno, meaning after this ritual, Kusno will no longer be immortal. The ritual creates a circle of fire around him. Just then, Melati arrives with a knife. Sumita's spirit bites Kusno's neck in the same way the curse had bitten Kusno. As a result, Kusno is now free from the curse, meaning he no longer has the curse of immortality. Taking advantage of this, Melati cuts his throat, ending him right there. Immediately, he turns to dust. Melati embraces her mother, Sumita's spirit, and tells her she kept her promise, meaning she saved her from Kusno. Sumita's spirit also embraces her, then vanishes into thin air. Now, Wati begins another ritual, bringing down rain. As the rain falls, all the fire throughout the house is extinguished. This ritual purifies the house. But will everything be all right now? No, this house is still cursed. The spirits here still demand human sacrifice. Rituals are still performed continuously. The rituals that Golok once performed are now done by Wati. Meanwhile, Melati has carefully preserved Golok and Sidit's bodies, hoping to revive them again. But even after Kusno's death, Melati doesn't feel peace in her heart. Wati also feels something isn't right. Melati says she can sense that a part of the curse is still alive. Wati then closes her eyes and says that yes, it is alive, but it's not here. It's very far away. The scene finally cuts to Adil. He is now completely cursed, just like Kusno having been bitten by him. He has become monstrous and terrifying, just like Kusno. The story then returns to the very beginning, to what we saw in the original story. Melati sitting in front of a TV, talking and narrating this entire tale to us. Essentially, she is leaving a message for Adil in front of that camera. She has realized that Adil now carries a part of Kusno's essence. So she tells Adil that if he seeks revenge, he knows where to find her, Losmen Melati. And with that, this chilling story comes to an end. I hope you all enjoyed this entire series. I certainly loved explaining it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite horror stories.